Are you tired of sifting through endless health advice that promises quick fixes but delivers nothing but frustration? Welcome to the Anti-Macro Podcast, the go-to place for scientifically backed yet digestible health and fitness wisdom without the fads or gimmicks. Whether you're looking to ditch chronic dieting, optimize your hormone and gut health, or simply find balance in your wellness journey, you're in the right place. I'm Coach Diana Lee, your no-nonsense guide to transforming your health and mindset for the better. Each episode, I'll dive into topics ranging from nutrition basics to debunking common myths to cutting-edge functional health insights, sometimes featuring guest experts in the space. Get ready to learn, grow, and take actionable steps toward a healthier and happier you. So grab your favorite beverage, kick back, and let's dive in. Food noise is a very popular term thrown around these days, but what is it exactly and how do we resolve it? I think the answer is more complex than we're willing to admit at times, and I want to dive into this further today. According to a review article written about food noise, the formal definition is persistent thoughts about food that are perceived by the individual as being unwanted and or dysphoric and may cause harm to the individual, including social, mental, or physical problems. Food noise is distinguished from food-related thoughts by its intensity and intrusiveness, resembling rumination. Essentially, it is the sense that you have a constant mental chatter in your brain that revolves around food and cravings, and these thoughts can often feel obsessive or intrusive. For many, it can also be more than just the thoughts, but also a feeling. Food noise can come from struggling to feel full or satisfied from meals. For the most part, what we know about food noise is mostly anecdotal, meaning we know it exists by the accounts of individuals experiencing it, but it's not something that's deeply studied yet. As a result, there's a wide array of experiences and various reasons that people experience it. There's no single cause and there's no single cure. But I believe the more that we understand about food noise, the more on an individual level we can assess our own experiences and determine what could be contributing to the food noise that we are experiencing and then what we can do about it. What is important to establish first is that food noise is not just a psychological condition, but is also something that has physiological roots. Our adaptive metabolism, hormones, and nutrient status can contribute to food noise. What I aim to do here is to present the multiple reasons any given person might experience food noise and how I've seen this play out within my coaching. You may see yourself in some of these cases, and if so, then I hope to provide you with steps that you can take to reduce your experiences of food noise or better manage it. So with that said, let's dive in. We're going to start with the physiological components of what drives food noise in the two classic cases that we see in the general population. The first being overeating and the standard American diet, and the second being chronic dieting and reduced energy availability. In the first case, what we traditionally see is people eating a diet that is hyperpalatable, calorically dense, but nutrient void. The standard American diet is often characterized by containing high sugar and high fat with minimal protein. Our body's number one job is to survive and maintain homeostasis. So when it is not receiving the nourishment that it needs to thrive, it will adapt. When we consume a meal that is high in carbohydrates and sugar, our body responds by releasing insulin. You may have seen people online demonizing glucose spiking in response to carbohydrates, but really this is a very natural response and it is not inherently bad. Insulin is what helps manage the glucose within our body in response to food. Where things start to go wrong is when every meal, every day causes big blood sugar swings and insulin is constantly being called on. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance, a state where the body's cells become less responsive to insulin, so the pancreas produces more and more to try to compensate. Insulin also plays a role in regulating dopamine, which is a key part of the brain's reward system. When we eat, insulin helps to modulate how we respond to the dopamine released from food. Under healthy conditions, this helps us feel satisfied both physically and psychologically. In someone who is insulin resistant, this dopamine signaling gets blunted. Imagine this. If you eat chicken breast, rice, and broccoli cooked at home with minimal ingredients for 7 days in a row, but then you go out to a restaurant and you have this delicious, decadent meal, your dopamine response is going to light up. That meal feels special because it stands out from your boring daily meals and it really excites you. But let's say you have hyper palatable foods every single day for every single meal. They don't feel special because this is your norm. In fact, it takes so much more for you to feel excited about a meal. This is part of what's happening with a blunted dopamine response. Insulin also reacts with a hormone in the body known as leptin. This hormone's job is to signal satiety at the end of a meal. Elevated insulin leads to elevated leptin. When insulin is chronically elevated, leptin levels also tend to rise. But over time, the brain stops listening to leptin, just like it does with insulin. And this is called leptin resistance. Now the brain isn't getting the message that the body has been fed, and so you continue to feel hungry and cravings can rise even if you've eaten an adequate amount of food. These signals going haywire, from insulin to dopamine to leptin, can explain why people struggle to feel less satisfied after their meals and for them to seek out more food after a meal. It can drive continued overconsumption of calories or highly processed foods, making it a self perpetuating cycle. In these individuals, food noise is showing up because they feel a constant sense of hunger, a drive to eat, and the need to seek out hyperpalatable foods. Now, on the flip side, we have the chronic dieting camp. A person has identified that they want to or need to lose weight, and they engage in calorie restriction of some kind to do so. Unfortunately, there is an abundance of bad weight loss and nutrition advice out there, leading people to take unhealthy approaches to their calorie restriction. What I often see is that people will eat too little for their body's energy needs and they'll lack adequate macro and micronutrients to support their health, which can lead to negative adaptations within the body. We already discussed how leptin can be dysregulated in states of chronic overeating, but it can also be impacted by chronic dieting as well. Remember, your body's job is to ensure survival. Your body doesn't realize that you are intentionally eating less food to lose weight, so it interprets a calorie deficit as there is less energy available. So we must conserve energy and find food to survive. In these cases, leptin drops, leading to weaker satiety signaling, increased hunger, and increased cravings. This is a natural response to not eating enough. But when this persists over long periods of time, then that hunger signal can become very loud and interpreted as food noise. When our body is attempting to conserve energy, it will also downregulate other hormones in the body. Our thyroid hormone controls our metabolism, and in cases of low energy availability, our metabolism will, in simple terms, slow due to the decrease in thyroid hormone production. Our sex hormones, such as progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone, will also drop, leading to lower energy. Fatigue often impacts our food choices and our ability to make food related decisions. It can cause higher cravings and lead us to reach for more readily available, highly processed foods. Our hormonal shifts can also lead us to feel more moody and irritable, and people often use food to self soothe or feel emotionally better. We don't just get energy from our food, but also nutrients that are essential for functioning. The vitamins and minerals that we absorb from our food are involved in our biological processes, from metabolism to satiety to mood and more. Deficiencies in nutrients such as magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, and omega 3s can drive cravings and impact appetite regulation. Nutrient deficiencies do not just impact the chronic dieters, but also individuals who are overeating highly processed foods that lack adequate nutrients. What we see are adaptations within the body that impact signaling to the brain, which can heighten experiences that can be categorized as food noise. Individuals are driven to eat more and reach for hyperpalatable foods, but they often blame food companies for making food addictive. While there may be some truth to that, we have to take personal responsibility here. The choices that we make on a day to day and meal to meal basis will directly impact how we feel and the future food related decisions that we make. And when we take personal responsibility for our struggles, then we can do something about it. When it comes to managing and reducing food noise that is driven by our diet and lifestyle, the actions we can take are the ones that I frequently talk about here on the podcast and on my social media platforms. First, we focus on building balanced plates. Earlier, I explained how our body naturally responds to carbohydrates and high sugar foods by releasing insulin. One way that we can ensure we avoid spiking our insulin is by using what I like to call the balanced plate formula. On your plate, you ensure that you have a protein, a carbohydrate, and a fat. And if you can get it in there, a vegetable. Protein and fat take longer to break down in our digestive system, which slows our body's insulin response to food. Foods that are fiber dense, such as vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, and seeds, can also slow the insulin response to food. As a result, we have a gradual rise and fall of insulin and better blood sugar management, which helps us feel full, satisfied, and energized for hours at a time. I also encourage my clients to consume a balanced meal or snack about every 3 to 4 hours, because that's about how long it takes for insulin to rise and fall. By the end of this window, hunger begins to rise again, and then we can meet that hunger with another balanced meal. By ensuring we are consuming nutrient dense meals consistently, we also ensure that our body gets adequate macro and micronutrients that it needs for hormone and neurotransmitter balance. Our body no longer exists in this survival mode, and it begins to act accordingly, reducing fatigue, cravings, and hunger. Even if you wanted to lose weight, you could approach a calorie deficit in a healthy and sustainable way to minimize physiological adaptations that drive food noise. First, follow the balanced plate formula to ensure that while you may be in an energy deficit, your body is still getting adequate micronutrients. Second, only reduce your calories enough to produce a healthy rate of weight loss without driving hunger levels through the roof. Some hunger is okay to feel in a deficit because you are intentionally eating below your body's needs. But too much hunger can drive higher cravings and food noise, which can wreck your compliance. It's also important that you incorporate diet breaks every so often so your body can have a reset and you prevent metabolic adaptations from going too far. Beyond our food, our habits and behaviors can also ensure that we keep food noise at bay from a physiological standpoint. All of the things that I work on with my clients within coaching, from sleep to stress management to movement and more, impact the signals within our body that can drive food cravings or food noise. But food noise is not just driven by physiology alone. There absolutely is a psychological component to it. Within my coaching, I can get clients eating better, moving more, and sleeping through the night, but they may still experience a form of food noise because of their relationship with food. The content that we consume and the behaviors that we engage in around food over the course of our lifetime can contribute to food noise just as much. From a diet culture perspective, we are constantly given black or white advice around food. There's so much content that tries to demonize various foods, including foods that are in fact healthy for you. Fear-mongering content at the moment is at its peak and is making decision making around food extremely stressful. And all the while, there's this constant underlying message that we need to be thin to be accepted. And the message just continuously gets repackaged and repurposed over the decades. We may also have people that are close to us, whether it's our friends or family, who are so consumed by the diet culture messages that they've absorbed over the years that they regurgitate it at us. Diet culture has driven women, especially, to engage in multiple unhealthy diets over their lifetimes, and each diet plays its part in shaping how you interact with food even long after you've stopped the diet. We engage in rigid behaviors in which we try to restrict and control our food and our body, which requires immense amounts of mental effort surrounding eating. The psychological food noise that can come from this can include obsessing over every single thing that we eat, how it will impact our body, and how it will impact our health, and then how it impacts our worth. Dieting over the course of years can have an impact on how we approach food mentally and can drive obsessive thought patterns that may not feel like hunger or cravings, but still drives us to eat. This is why it is essential to heal your relationship with food while you also heal the physiological aspects of your health. I work with my clients to investigate the reasons behind their behaviors and habits, reframe mindsets that help them think of food and exercise differently, and over time, lessen the intensity of how much food can dictate their experience of life. Some people may need therapy for more extreme cases, such as orthorexia, binge eating disorders, or other eating disorders. But it's imperative to realize that your relationship with food and your body can drive obsessive thoughts around food and must be addressed. Finally, let's touch upon the elephant in the room, because there is one particular tool that is being given as the solution to food noise, and that is GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic, Wegovy, and the likes. I am not anti-GLP-1s. They can be a valuable tool for people who struggle with food noise, weight loss, and even addiction because they enhance feelings of fullness and reduce reward-seeking behavior. I think that they do have their place in healthcare for people looking to improve their health through weight loss. But I felt it was important to first lay the groundwork for understanding what can cause food noise and then also what can alleviate it. When we reflect upon the physiological changes that are caused by prolonged unhealthy behaviors, whether it be overeating or undereating, it makes sense why it's so hard to adhere to even a healthy diet and lifestyle if you're existing in an unhealthy body. The adaptations that your body undergoes can make the process feel like an uphill battle. And while many of the solutions that I've already presented here help to alleviate some of that food noise, they do not always eliminate entirely for everyone, at least not for a while. Your body's physiology will take time to adapt back to a healthier state. And psychologically, it can take time to rewire our brains around food and our body. For those who struggle along this journey, GLP-1s can be a tool that helps with adherence while you change, transform, and heal. But as we know, GLP-1s are often being used as a quick fix solution for people who are not doing the work in changing their habits, mindsets, and behaviors. In these instances, GLP-1s can act like a band-aid and simply cover up the food noise that exists due to dysfunction while the person continues to engage in behaviors that cause that dysfunction to persist. There are people who use it to suppress their appetite and they eat very little, furthering the nutrient deficiencies and the resulting impacts. There are also people who use it so they don't gain weight while continuing to eat a standard American diet. If we lived in my definition of a perfect world, GLP-1s would never be prescribed to a patient who wasn't simultaneously undergoing coaching or guidance for lifestyle and behavior change. It is imperative that we acknowledge how our actions over the course of a lifetime can lead to the very symptoms that we feel, including food noise. And I have empathy for anyone who struggles to make the changes necessary because of those symptoms. But we can't place GLP-1s on a pedestal as the sole solution to the problem. Combating food noise requires a whole health approach that focuses on healing the mind and body through food, movement, habits, mindsets, and, when necessary, medication as a support. My hope through this episode is that you've learned more about yourself and your own experiences with food noise to better navigate your own journey. Or if you're not somebody who struggles with food noise, you've learned about it to find empathy for those who are struggling. The more that we understand, the better that we can support ourselves and others. Food noise is so much more than just obsessive thoughts surrounding food. It's often a physiological response by your body trying to tell you that it's struggling and it needs nourishment to thrive. It's often a psychological result of years of diet culture conditioning. It's complex, but it can be managed, reduced, and even resolved. If you know somebody who could benefit from this episode, please share it with them. For more information on managing blood sugar, reducing cravings, healing your relationship with food, and even GLP-1s, dig back into the archives of this podcast because I have covered a lot of these topics over the years. Thanks again for listening, subscribing, and sharing, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Anti-Macro Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable and actionable for your own wellness journey. Remember, true transformation comes from consistent, intentional steps forward. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated on all things health and fitness, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new episode. I release fresh content bi-weekly every Wednesday to keep you inspired and informed. And hey, if you loved what you heard, I'd be thrilled if you could take a moment to share this podcast with a friend or family member who might benefit from it. By sharing it with others, you're helping them on their wellness journey too. Keep striving for progress, not perfection, and I'll catch you next time.